Today Dung Fu invites you to listen to the Dhammapada, one of the Dharma of Buddha Shakyamuni. The 63rd verses from the Buddhist scriptures on the YouTube channel Tien Thai in the USA. Just as when we are lost in a dark forest, if we admit that we do not know the way, we are already closer to finding the right path. But if we insist that we know while wandering deeper into darkness, then we remain trapped. The teaching is simple, but to apply it in daily life requires mindfulness. Many times we speak or act thinking we are right. Later we realize we were driven by anger or desire. If we can pause and say, "I do not truly know. I may be wrong," that pause itself is wisdom. Let us think of the river. A river that flows gently reflects the sky. When the water is calm, the moon and stars appear clearly. But if the river is stirred by storms, the surface becomes broken. The fool who thinks himself wise is like the stormy river. He cannot reflect the truth. The fool who knows his foolishness is like the calm river. He reflects reality as it is. In our human life, the Buddha taught that even he, after his enlightenment, continued to honor truth above all. In the scriptures there is the story of Subhuti, one of the great disciples. The fool who thinks himself wise may memorize many words, many sutras, many teachings. But if his heart is filled with pride, then wisdom has not yet blossomed. He is like a man carrying a bag of seeds, but never planting them. He believes he has a harvest, but the fields remain empty. In our time, with so much information, a person may know little, but if he admits his limitation and seeks truth sincerely, he walks closer to awakening than one who boasts of great understanding. Because that moment is already the beginning of wisdom. Let us consider our relationships. How often do conflicts arise because each side insists they are right? If one person can step back and say, "Perhaps I am mistaken. Teach me. Show me," then harmony returns. The family becomes peaceful. The community becomes whole. The fool who knows his foolishness is not despised by the wise. Instead, the wise see hope in him. Because he is open, he is like dry soil ready to receive rain. But the fool who believes he is wise closes his heart. Rain may fall, but it runs off the surface without soaking in. In meditation practice, this verse is also essential. Many beginners think after a few days of peace that they have attained deep concentration. They may boast, "I have entered samadhi." But this thought itself shows that delusion still remains. The true meditator knows, "My mind is still restless. I still need to cultivate patience." This honesty keeps the practice alive. The Buddha often reminded his disciples not to cling to pride. Once he said, "Even if a person can recite many teachings, but does not practice, just as the first step of healing is to admit we are sick, the physician cannot help the patient who denies his illness, but the patient who says, 'I am unwell. Please help me.'" But in the light of the Buddha, humility is the seed of awakening. The fool who knows his foolishness bows to truth, and in bowing, he rises higher than the one who stands proud in delusion. The fool who knows his foolishness is wise at least to that extent. This line teaches us to pause and look within. In daily life, We often think others are the fools. Rarely do we stop and ask. A fool who thinks himself wise is called a fool indeed. This is the more dangerous form of ignorance, because it is hidden under pride. Imagine a person sick with fever. If he admits his sickness, medicine can heal him. But if he insists, "I am healthy, I do not need help," the sickness deepens. Such is the fool who thinks he is wise. We may see this in society. Someone may hold power, wealth. This is why humility is essential for leaders, teachers, and even spiritual practitioners. The Buddha was the wisest of beings, yet his humility was boundless. When asked difficult questions, in the path of meditation, humility protects us. Many meditators experience joy, light, or visions. If they believe these are the highest wisdom, they become trapped. But if they say, "The fool who thinks he is wise is like a full cup, nothing more can enter. The fool who knows his foolishness is like an empty vessel, ready to receive, ready to learn, ready to be transformed." This gentle prayer opens the heart to wisdom. When we face conflict, we can ask, "Am I clinging to being right? Am I closing the door to understanding?" Without seeing reality, there is no wisdom. Therefore, when we chant this verse, we remind ourselves, may we be honest with our own mind. May we see clearly where ignorance still dwells. And may we walk gently, humbly, toward the light of awakening. A fool who knows his foolishness is wise at least to that extent. But a fool who thinks himself wise is called a fool indeed. When the Buddha spoke these words, he was addressing the deepest sickness of the human mind, delusion. Delusion blinds us, not only to truth, but also to our own blindness. To know we are deluded is already to step beyond delusion. To not know we are deluded is to remain bound. Think of a traveler on a dark road. If he says, "I do not see the way, I must find a lamp," he has hope. But if he says, "I already know the way," while stumbling deeper into thorns, his pride leads him to pain. The scriptures tell of King Pasenadi of Kosala. Once he asked the Buddha, "Who is truly great? The one who rules kingdoms, or the one who conquers the self?" The Buddha replied, "The one who conquers the self is the greatest ruler." The king was humbled. Though he was mighty, he knew little of the Dharma. Because he admitted this, wisdom began to grow. Here we see the first line of the verse alive. The king, though powerful, knew his foolishness. He sought guidance, and in that humility, he became wise. Now let us reflect on the second line. A fool who thinks himself wise is called a fool indeed. This is a warning to all practitioners. Even within Dharma practice, pride can hide. A monk may memorize the sutras and speak eloquently. People may bow to him. But if he thinks, "I am wise, I am above others," but he led them into a field where hunters waited. Many birds were caught. The parrot rescued them with great effort. The crow, who thought himself wise, caused harm. This story reminds us, thinking we are right, leading ourselves or others into suffering. The Buddha's verse is a mirror, not to shame us, but to awaken us. The fool who knows his foolishness is humble, and humility brings patience. With patience, mindfulness grows. With mindfulness, wisdom opens like a lotus. Thus, knowing one's foolishness is already the beginning of awakening. Let us turn to daily life practice. Suppose a person at work is given a new task. If he says, "I already know everything," he may make mistakes. But if he says, "I am still learning. Please guide me," then he grows quickly. The same is true in family. A husband who insists, "I am always right," brings conflict. But if he admits, "Perhaps I am mistaken. Teach me," peace returns. I still cling. I am still foolish. This honesty protects us from pride. It allows us to keep practicing without illusion. Another parable tells of a monk who believed he was enlightened. He declared to the Sangha, "I am awakened. Worship me." The Buddha called him and asked, "Do you still feel anger?" The monk replied, "Sometimes." The Buddha asked, "Do you still feel desire?" The monk replied, "Yes, at times." The Buddha said gently, "Then you are not yet awakened. To claim so is foolishness." The monk bowed, ashamed but grateful. From that day, his humility became the root of true progress. Friends, in this world today, people often fear being called foolish. They hide their ignorance. They pretend to know. But the Buddha teaches the opposite. To admit our foolishness is wisdom. To pretend to be wise is true foolishness. This is why the verse is both gentle and profound. It frees us from the fear of not knowing. It encourages us to say, "I am still learning." Imagine how peaceful the world would be if leaders, teachers, parents. Let us practice 3 ways of applying this verse each day. First, in speech. Before declaring something, pause. Ask, "Am I sure?" Or am I speaking from pride? Second, in thought. When judging others, ask, "Do I truly understand their mind? Or am I clinging to my own view?" Third, in action. When taking steps in life, remember, I may still be foolish. May I walk humbly and mindfully. Practice daily. These 3 steps turn foolishness into wisdom. A fool who knows his foolishness is wise at least to that extent. But a fool who thinks himself wise is called a fool indeed. Let us continue to see how this verse is not only a teaching of the past, but a living Dharma for today. And communities, beloved friends, to know one's foolishness is not despair. It is hope. It is the light that opens the door to practice. The Buddha did not ask us to be perfect at once. He only asked us to be honest. When we see clearly, I am still bound by greed, anger, delusion, that very seeing is already liberation beginning to bloom. How can we practice this verse in meditation? Each time we sit, we may repeat silently, "I do not yet know. May I learn. I am not yet free. May I walk the path. I am still foolish. May I grow in wisdom." Such reflections dissolve pride. They open the heart to Dharma. They make the mind calm like the still water reflecting the moon. How can we practice this verse in relationships? By listening. True listening is the fruit of humility. When we think we know everything, we stop listening. But when we know we are foolish, we listen deeply. In listening, we discover compassion. In compassion, harmony arises. How can we practice this verse in society? By serving. The one who thinks himself wise demands to be served. The one who knows his foolishness serves others. Service is wisdom in action. Thus, this short verse becomes a guide for our whole life. In thought, in speech, in action, in meditation, in family, in society, everywhere, humility is the root. Pride is the poison. Let us recall, the fool who knows his foolishness is wise at least to that extent. This is the seed. If we water this seed each day with mindfulness and compassion, it becomes the tree of awakening. But the fool who thinks himself wise is called a fool indeed. This is the warning. If we let pride grow, we remain in darkness. Friends, may we all choose the seed of humility. May we all bow before truth. May we all walk gently with open hearts. Thank you for watching my video. Namo Ba. I wish to bring this merit towards all disciples and sentient beings, all of whom will attain Buddhahood. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate your time.